up. Keep that scan. Great. Onigashimasu.
Onigashimasu.
Okie doke. Great. I'll just start lightly moving the body. And down. Just gently inside to side. Small movements in one foot, move it above. Keep the arms releasing as you go. Slight forward backward movements. And then we've got for 1 foot. Very slight rotation with the hips. Let the shoulders just follow. Following up. Trying to avoid twisting the spine. Just move the feet freely in the direction. Just coming back into the center. Just give yourself a little bit more of a downwards and upwards movement and let the body settle. From here, settle. Settle. Then gathering up and settle. And to really let the arms release. So gather up, drop down. Gather up, drop down. Okay, do something a little bit different. Just take the head and just roll around with it. So really feel it kind of moving from the head. So just by any direction. Just feel that the head's being moved, the body's just going to follow it. Any direction. A bit kind of physical, so I imagine basically someone holding the head and pulling me around, and the body's basically following it. So the body's kind of soft. Good. The body's just going to move with it. So this head-led movement. Anyway, you can also take it a bit deeper if you feel comfortable with it. And then do the same thing with the shoulders. So just kind of leading the body out to the shoulders. Now, I like to imagine someone kind of pushing, pulling the shoulders out. Just let them move with the body. Good. So, And then imagine someone's taking the end of the arm, the wrist, and just pulling them out. And then just again, let the body follow with it. A little bit to the back, just be careful of the spine. And last one, just with the hips. So just imagine someone kind of either pulling the hips away, or pushing into the body. Just let the rest of the body soften, so especially in this case the knees, as the hips come out, let the knees and the toes really soften. Knees and the toes soften. That's it. Just take the body any direction, just follow it. Movement. So. Good. There we go. And the other one's just for the legs. So imagine someone's just picking the leg up and moving it. Now you can step with it if you feel the balance goes with it. Step with it. Bring the body back, but try and basically stay in one leg in this one. It's a little bit trickier. Imagine someone's just kind of picking the leg up and taking it away from you. Picking the leg up and taking it away from any direction. Just focus really on the supporting leg. You're not going to kind of pull against it, but you're just going to sink the weight down and settle. Sink and settle as you do it. Just keep going with that. Good. Okay, good. And then just working with the whole body. So just working every part of the body. And basically, just an exercise to do with partner work, especially if we're going to go into 𝘭𝘰𝘠𝗦𝗎. We're not going to go into 𝘭𝘭𝘠𝗎 in this case, but it's basically to free the body up a little bit. Let's have someone just pushing anywhere on the body, and they can use the legs, they can use the hips, they can use the head. It's basically a mobilization exercise. And also kind of settling of the weight of the body. So I'm going to be able to absorb pressure as it goes out or in or to the back. A really kind of supple body. That's it. Good, really good. Nice. Good. Very good. Super. Okay, we'll just do some specifics. Go into the wrists. Roll over the other. Big smooth movement. Feel like kind of all oiling, lubricating the wrists. And then change direction. Just making a fist on one side, slightly bracing the wrist, just roll it over. So you don't want the wrist to be too loose, you want a slight tension in it. One way. You can use the elbow just to brace the, you can use the elbow into the body to brace the arm. And then change direction, the way. Changing the hand. Slight tension in the wrist. And change direction. Just taking the fingers, stretching it out all the way into the elbow. A little bit of pressure out into the palm. And change sides. Just working out to keep the hand kind of flat loose, just press into it here. Good. And the other side. And this one's just for the thumb. Be careful with this, but take the thumb, just press it towards the forearm. If you're a little bit flexible, you might be able to touch the forearm with the thumb, but don't force it. Just a stretch for the thumb. Do not break your own thumb, that would be bad. Okay, great, change. Slight pressure into the forearm. Good. Nice. Good. And then just taking the wrist in figure of eights. Just loosen that. Lead the movement with the thumbs in this case. Just take it into the elbows, rolling them with the wrists. And just play with, just basically imagine 2 8s in front of the body, just pass them around. Good. And nice shoulder mobility one. Just take this a little bit deeper around the back. So you pass them around. You can do this obviously if you imagine that you've got a plate or something in the hand. You obviously don't want to tip the plate off. So you're going to basically use the little shoulder. Don't worry too much about the hand position. It's really for the shoulder mobility. Once you kind of use it, just feel that you can kind of take it up and you can take it back. So you want to basically pass the shoulder through its full range of motion. Good. That's it. Nice. Good. Very nice. And then if you're clever with this, you can reverse it the other way. Oh, it's really tricky. Yeah. There we go. Good. Okay, just rolling out the shoulders a little bit. The other way. Just let the arms come across the chest. Out to the side. Open, expand the chest. Good. Get into the neck just with a little bit of pressure on the hand. Lengthen and drop the opposite hand. So let the arm and shoulder release down. You reach the head away and down. Good. The other side. Release the opposite shoulder. Let the hand hang heavy. Just looking at the shoulders. Keep the shoulders, hips, knees forward. Good. Bring the elbows and the chest into it. Release out the arms, bring the hips into it. And just wrap against the body. Good. So a nice active side bend. This is like a double punch strike. You go over to the side, extend the body out, and then extend the fists out with it. Pull them back, pull the body straight. Go to the other side. So you reach out. And in this case, let the arms really pass over the body. So you don't want this arm to go to the, in this position like this, you want the hand to actually go over the top this way. So it's going right over the top. This is used, in our case, we use this as an entry against weapons. Usually the 𝘱𝘢𝘢, sometimes with the bokken, mostly the 𝘱𝘢. But think about you're basically entering the body against the 𝘱𝘢. You don't want the arm to be in that position in this case. So it's a stretch, but we use it in a way later position and then inject the elbows into the movement. So side stretch with a bit of a functional movement. Just a few each side. Nice. Yeah, really good. Great, and then just take into the hips, just rolling up the hips. Nice big movement. Keep a good contact in the ground with the big toe, the feet. And change. Okay, then you're just going to settle the hip. Just think about pulling the hip up and pulling the foot up with it. So you can obviously do this by lifting the foot up, but just really think about pulling the hip up. So this part of the body is kind of shortening, and if you do it, you're pulling the hip right up, pulling the foot out of the ground, and settle it again. Pulling the hip out of the ground, pulling the foot out of the ground with the hip. And then you're going to make a kind of figure of 8 with this movement, so you can roll the hip over. Keep that feeling that you pick the foot up as well with it, so you're rolling the hip to the back, neck to the back. And then take it forward, rolling the hip up and over, up and over, up and over. This is the catwalk model exercise. Then dunk, dunk. Good. Okay, and then just fit to the knees. And a light massage, make the kneecap in a position where it's a little bit of movement. Using the fingers and thumbs. Roll through the kneecap and the side and just above it. Using the fingers and thumbs. Good. Choosing the palm, roll over the kneecap. Just try and feel there's a little bit of movement in it. Good, and then keeping the feet flat on the ground, roll in circles. Lightly stretching back. You can pull the toes up towards the face, be able to increase it a little bit. Release the toes back down and take it to the side. And lightly back. You can pull the toes up if you like. Okay, from here, just reach the hands into the ground. Start with just the fingertips. If you feel a lot of stress on the knees and the legs, just release the knees a little bit. Try and release the head towards the ground with the spine. Relax the face, let the neck be long. Good, and then we're just going to follow this with hinging the knees, bring them down, keep the contact in the ground with the hands, hinge the knees forward, settle into it, just take it as deep as you can. If you can, kind of sit onto the heels, the butt. And then release to the back, lengthen up to the top. If you feel really painful in the legs, just keep the knees released. But if you want, you can play with just lengthening the knees back a little bit. And then coming down, bending the knees down. Keep a little bit of contact with the fingers. And coming back up. Good, just walk the hands out a little bit further. A little bit further. Lengthen through the body. Pull the hips back gently. Good. Put a little bit more pressure into the hands and just spread the legs out a little bit further. A little bit further each time. And just settle the hips into it. So relax with the knees, released. A little bit of weight in the fingertips still. Just gently start to pull the hips a little bit further back. And if you feel comfortable with it, just start to walk the hands forward a little bit more. Keep the hips where they are. Lengthening through the spine. And let the ears just kind of align with the shoulders if you bring the hands out. Good. And slowly bring the hands back. Just so they're just in front of the feet. So if you were to trace a line above, the thumbs are just on that line above the toes. Settle into it. You want to keep the hips square in this one. So as you go into this, we're going to go into the windmill. But the tendency in this is for one hip to start to kind of lengthen up. So try and keep the hips even as you go up and really make this for the torso. Reaching up and take it down. And every time you go back, just square the hips back off. Press evenly into the feet and keep that pressure as you go up and reach open at the torso. And as you come down, even pressure with the feet and the hands. And then try and release it to the top, just in your own time. Good, just two more each side. Nice control movement. And one more each side. Great. Okay, settle back down with the hands, feet even. Just put a little bit more pressure into the hands and then walk, release the feet, walk them back together. Okay, just take a position here where the toes are touching and the heels are separated. Okay. So toes touching, heels separated, and now what I want you to do is just release the knees, find the shin bone. Press up. As you get to this position, brace in the back a little bit. Squeeze the legs together. So you're going to like squeeze the thighs together. Wrap the legs around each other. And then from here, pull the body up long while keeping that tension in the legs. Pull the body up. Release it. Just keep that position with the legs. It's a little bit of a strange position, but keep that tension so you're rolling the feet and the thighs together. Just take a wide wing position. Thumbs leading out. Slightly release the hips to the back. Release, unlock the knees. Don't let the knees go forward again. Let the knees start to spread back. Keep that pressure in the legs. Spread open out the chest. Lengthen. Pull the clavicles long up to the top. Pull in the back of the neck. Few deep breaths here. Keep that tension in the legs. Good, strong contact with the feet. And then the next out breath, you're going to hinge the hips back, reach the hands forward. You can bring the fingertips together, you can just reach them out. So release the knees back. Keep that pressure again in the legs. Good contact with the ground. Length through the spine. And every out breath, just start to reach a little bit further each time. Doesn't have to be far. Hips and hands start to pull apart. And the last one from this position, keep the hips where they are, release the arms up to the top. So don't shrug the shoulders up, but raise them from below. Reach the hands palm up, and just reach up as high as you can. Keep that pressure in the legs all the time. Couple of deep breaths. Reach up a little bit higher each time if you can. And the next out breath, you're going to release all the way down to the ground. Release the spine at the bottom. And again, just drawing up to the shin bone. Nice and easy. Pull the body up strong in the legs. Just release out the hips and the lower back. Very good. Okay, we'll just finish with a little bit of rolling through the spine. So just rolling away through the spine. Good. Okay, great. Just shake out the wrist a little bit. A little bit front and back, doggy paddle. Out to the sides. Rolling down the arms. And the legs. Good. Oh boy. Just make it tighter movement, smaller, more compact in the center. All the limbs loose, heavy, all the joint system open. And just settling in, standing. A couple of natural breaths. And just finish nice couple of deep breaths, so raising up. Let the hands come up to the ceiling and then let them drift down towards the body, out to the sides as you breathe out. The breath and the arms go together. Out and spread them down. Breathing in. And out. And in. And out. And last one. And just settle the body back down. Great. Okay, we'll continue with the boxing work. We're looking at the next couple of days. Okie dokie. Good. So we'll just start gently with the first 𝘧𝘂. So don't make the focus too strong yet. Just settling into it. So just a nice, even rhythm with it. Try and make all parts of it as important. Everything going towards the focus, really feel the whole movement full. Right. Good. Okay, so we learned this kind of like really these core cue movements. So basically on Monday, we're looking at this kind of kaitenai, this kind of raise and rotate through. It's all really based on sword work. So this idea of like raising and sinking the weight of the body. We'll take this into a fluid one, but just before that, just think about the hip and the elbow as you do this. So if you think about this position, if you especially look at the left arm as you do this, the hip and the elbow are the closest they get together at this point. Now, as you go to the raise there, they go to the furthest part in the movement. So there's basically an opening through the elbow to the hip. Now, the key thing with this, and especially when we take it to flowing work or fluid work, really feel that the hip controls the elbow. So in this case, feel that the hip, as it initiates that movement, draws the elbow down into the body. And then from here, it spreads the elbow up. And then here, it pulls the elbow down back into the body. It presses the elbow up, and it pulls it down. So just look at this. It's basically an opening and closing of that connection point in the body, basically hip to elbow in this case. You can think of the elbow basically in two ways. You can think of like heavy weight dropping on it, but in this case, it's a little bit different. It's the feeling that the hip's basically drawing the elbow down with it. So that the kind of order in this is hip starts to pull down, starts to settle, and the elbow gets dragged with it. It's a really important order because as you go fluid, it's really key that this is the kind of natural order of it, basically. It's up, yeah. Yeah, good. Great. So take this into a very light kind of kihon. So not fast, keep it slow, but take it into a flowing motion now. So you're going to reach the back with it and initiate the cut into it. Reach the back, initiate the cut into it. So it's one fluid motion. There. So the slower, the better. Nice. Okay, good. So this is a really small detail. I don't know if this will actually come over on Zoom, but just what it says, watch the position of the elbow as you do it. So if the elbow basically stays facing forward, I wore the wrong t-shirt for this one. Okay, if the elbow points forward as you go, like this kind of position, everything's kind of crunched. So if the elbow always points forward in that motion, you're going to have a kind of crunch of the body. Now, if the opposite happens, the elbow goes to the back, I open the shoulder out too much. And then I'm in a really weak position. And then to get back into the center, it's a really big movement. But there is a little bit of give in the elbow. So just focus as you do this. Focus on the position of the elbow. It's a small detail, but it's basically the difference between the elbow points forward as I do it, and I'm crunched up and small, or as I go up, the elbow's kind of spreading out to the back this way. And I'm too open and I'm too spread, I'm too kind of diffuse in a way. So just play this, but there's a kind of opening. The elbow's down into the ground here, both elbows down. And then as they raise up, there's a slight opening of the elbow. And then the key is getting back to that position. So as you go, you're going to narrow the elbows back down, and put them into place. But the best thing is feel that the hips actually create that closure in the arm. So the hips lead that, put that movement back. But just focus as you do it on the path that the elbows track through the movement. Yeah. Yeah, good. So it's a really simple exercise you can do for this. If you got the arm out this way, now the problem is if I open the elbow out and then I don't close it back as I go into the cut and end up in that kind of movement. And then I'm trying to fix it at the end of the cut. It's really simple. You just do like this. Just put your little finger on the elbow. Now notice the difference between the elbow being in, this is really difficult to show. Notice the difference between the elbow being in this position and me trying to press the hip into it, and the difference between the elbow being in that position. Closed, and then I press into it. So this one I can really settle weight through it. And this one, the movement's actually going out this way. Now that's what I want to do to someone if I'm trying to create an 𝘵𝑰𝑢𝑘𝑠𝑡𝑖 or something. I want to destabilize the elbow so that they can't connect the center of the hips into the elbow, into the arm. But if the person's able to drop the elbow down, and then I can't find the 𝘵𝑰𝑢𝑘𝑠𝑡𝑖 anymore. So this relates obviously to the Taijutsu work, but just feel the difference between the elbows engaged, the shoulders open, and the hip can basically act. Or the shoulders open, the elbows really out to the side, and there's no pressure anymore. So it's a really simple, super simple exercise. But notice there's like millimetric difference between the elbow being that and that, and there and that and there. Boom. So there's really like and it's for your own body. It'll be different for you, but the general thing is the same. That the track of the elbow wants to be going down, spread down. Yeah. That's it. And once you've got a feel for it, just take it back into the Bokken work. So the Bokken work in a way is like pressuring that position or that ability to do that, apart from other things. One of the things we're doing is that pressure. Now feel that the elbow is basically able to press weight through the body. Now if it's there, it's not pressing into the body, it's basically spreading. Again, so it's the difference between being like channeling everything down or being like diffused and spread. Sword works great for this because everything goes towards one point, straight forward and down. Good. Morning, Serena. Good. Okay, and then go back into everyone's back into Sabru now, but play with this, which is basically the hip leads the movement all the time. So the hip presses the sword earth, and then the hip drops in. Now, feel that the key point with this as you're going to fluid is that kind of order of the body. So again, going back to this idea of the hip, drawing the elbow down into the ground. Now, we spend a lot of time, especially in Kihon, and what tends to happen is the elbow and the hips become like fixed. So they basically move fixed together, and adding power to it won't help. It'll just kind of fix that connection more. So feel that connection's a little bit more supple, especially as you do this in a kind of 𝑘𝑖 movement. But the hip's basically going to reach into the ground first and draw the elbow, in this case, down into it. And you've got that open posture, and then narrowing it into the ground. Open, narrow it into the ground. Just if you can make it one movement. Give yourself a little bit of time between the cuts. Now, if I can get into this kind of training, you get this kind of wave quality through the sword cut. So the body's going to basically kind of roll through the motion in this very kind of natural way. Yeah, good. Nice. Yeah, very good. And then basically all the 𝘱𝘭𝘢𝘐 are basically pressuring that ability to do that connection, apart from all the other things we do. But in this case, we'll focus on that one point. Take this now into 𝘱𝘭𝘠𝘬𝘐𝑔𝑖, and just focus on that kind of release, but keeping that feeling that the hip drags the elbow through that motion. So the best way to think about this is like the hips reach into the ground and the arms follow. Hips reach into the ground, the arms follow. And again, just notice that connection between the hips and the elbows, opening up, closing down, opening up, closing down. That's it. That's it. Good. Okay, good. And again, go back to this point, which is like, just notice the track of the elbows as they go through the movement. So where the elbows trace, or what path the elbows trace through the movement as you do it. So there's two things I can do with this. I can have the elbows fixed in place, and the body somehow has to twist around it. And it's just very tight. The elbows stay in place, and the body kind of twists around it this way. The other one is that the elbows kind of just leave the body. So the elbows leave the body. This makes the rotation easy, but I actually split the connection with the elbows and the hip. So the hips are basically here, and the elbows start to start. Again, this is what I want to do with someone if I'm looking to break their posture. 𝘱𝘭𝑛age is a classic example. I want to take them out of that posture so that the hips can't connect with the arm. Now, what you want to do in this case, or what you want to look or move towards is the feeling where the elbows are actually free, and they're just going to trace through that line, but they do it flexibly. But it's not that, or it's that. It's something where the elbows free. But first, just think about the elbows, and then think about connecting into the hip block. First, just try and notice the path of the elbows as you go. If you think about all the taijutsu work we do, like 𝘱𝘭𝑛age work, 𝘭𝘪𝑗idori, 𝘭𝘰𝘯, that movement of the elbows really, really, really the same. That's that. Yeah, okay, good. Good. Okay, great. Now take this again back into the hips. Really do, in this case, you've got to tell the arms not to initiate the movement. So you've really got to, I've got to really tell my own arm, don't initiate the movement. Don't initiate the movement, because as soon as the arm initiates the movement, it's going to split me out of the connection with the arm. So I automatically am going to disconnect myself if I go with the arms. So really feel in this case that you go release with the feet and let the whole body follow. But really allow the arms not to take over. They really will want to, because as you go into a rotation work and this kind of stuff, the body's maybe going to advance a little bit. The arms will try and start the movement, but try and feel that the initial movement comes from the ground. Ground. Down. So just look at that initiating movement of the rotation. Very, very easy to disconnect in that point. Nice. Yeah, good. Okay, great. Good. And then we'll just take this into the fifth subaru. So just working in the 𝘥𝘰𝘦𝘦, but just on the spot in this case. So again, it's taking that connection work and just changing it a little bit and taking it somewhere else. But the same feeling's the same. So there's an opening of the connection between the elbow and the hip, and then a closing back down. The hip orientation is a little bit different with this. So you're going now into 𝘥𝘰𝘦𝘦, so the hip's a little bit wider in the back, especially, and the path of the sword now is tracing onto the just around the back hip. So it's just coming a little bit through the diagonal down. Good. Nice. Okay, good. Okay, in this case, you've really got to tell both arms don't do the movement. So in this case, one arm's not really doing it, and then the other one does it. And then it does sometimes, or this one's not doing it, this one will do it. So one hand will start to try and take over. Used to be a dominant hand, but in some cases might be the other one as well. But just really feel it. I don't want the hands to start it. So this is basically just a test. Just feel it from here. I'm connecting the hands and the hips together. So it's not that you're doing this with the arms, but you want to feel that actually the moment I move the hip, the sword's going to go with it in a flexible way. So it's not that it's rigid, but it's in a flexible way. Just feel that connection and then go. But give yourself space between each cut. Just feel the hips are actually connected. Now, as you do this, you'll probably discover that the hands and the hips aren't connected, which I always find. They're not actually connected. So as I move the hips, nothing's happening in the arms. So really find your way back into that connection each time as you cut. It's the danger of kind of repetitious cutting that I start to actually work out with connection work. So take your time, find the connection and then go. Find the connection and then go. That's that. Okay, so wrist mobility is a bit of an issue usually with this one. So if my wrists are kind of immobile or they're kind of fixed on the weapon, it's very easy for these kind of things to happen. So there's no real movement happening in the wrist. So what happens is the elbow does the function of the wrist. And in that case, really disaster for connection work because the elbow starts to disconnect from the hip. Again, all the stuff I want to do with someone if I'm looking to break the structure. So just one exercise with this, just for the wrist flexibility. Keep the body square on, center. Nice, comfortable position, and just play with basically rolling the sword over the wrist. So the elbows don't really do anything in this case. It's all forearm and wrist. Forearm and wrist. You can do this one side. Ideally, do this with both. But as you do this, you'll notice something has to change in the grip as you do it. I can't do this exercise and keep the grip. It's impossible. So you can also try it. Don't believe me. Try it. It's not possible. You'll get basically tied up. Again, it's what I want to do if I'm looking to tie someone up, 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝗪𝘠 or something like this. But just play with him, rolling the wrist, rolling the forearms, keep the elbows kind of out of it, in a sense. This is one time, it's easier to show what it's not. Try and avoid, in this case, this motion. Again, I'm really skipping over the elbow. So actually, it's really like a sword cut, but it's that kind of motion. That kind of motion. So the sword's actually staying on the center. It's not going around in this case. So that kind of feeling. That kind of feeling. You can make this quite sharp if you've got the connection, or you've got that kind of flexibility in the wrist. And basically rolling the wrist. There's a ton of flexibility going on in the wrist as you do it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, tricky. Tricky. Yeah, good. Okay, very good. So from that kind of contained movement, keep that foot posture, keep that same idea, but just start to slightly raise the elbows up now. So only take it as far. If you think about connection work, obviously the further something is from the other part, the harder it is to connect to it, right? So the closer it is, the easier it is to connect. So in this case, go so far where you can really feel the connection between the hip and the elbow. So if I can only find it here, just stay there. I feel the hips and the elbows really solidly connected because it's really close to the body. And if I can take that connection work a little bit higher, a little bit deeper in terms of the distance between the elbow and the hip. And if I can start to take it where it's just coming above the head, but really feel when you disconnect from the hip. It's very easy to do in this movement. So be on the lookout for disconnecting from the hip. That's it. Again, wrist mobility, forearm mobility is really, really important. Nice. Okay, good. Okay, great. Last couple of minutes, just play with that connection work. Again, using the 5th 𝗬𝘓𝗓, using Zengo, and using the 𝘱𝘰𝘬𝘦 first 𝗬𝘓𝗓. So just play with moving around, take it into any way you want with it. But again, just really focus on that connection work. For the key, and this one's that kind of flexibility of the connection. Down the arm. Also really tying in the elbows to the hips. Settle with the hips and letting the elbows draw back into the body. The special notice of the transitions from the cut to movement. Isabella, hello, see your little head. Good. Okay, 30 more seconds. Just look at one point, which is if I actually really finish the cut, I don't need to look for connection. So what happens a lot if I don't actually finish the cut and I'm not connected, then I need to kind of refine it again. But if I actually, the benefit of really going into this kind of full cut with it is that I'm connected into the body directly, and then I can just move with it. So just notice the difference between the soul's kind of hung up, or it's kind of dribbled out, and the difference between that and it's in the system that, and then there. So if I fully engage into the cut with the whole body, it's very easy to, or it's easier to take the whole body with it as you go into the release. That really means I need to actually really finish the cut in this case. If you watch all the videos of Sensei doing the weapons, especially later in his life, you can see every cut's really a cut. Bam, into the ground. Bam, into the ground. Yeah, good. Nice. Yeah, very nice. Good. Okay, just 20 more seconds or so. Good. Good. Okay, perfect. Fast 20 seconds. There we go. Okay, well bow. Great. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Domo arigato. Thank you.
Very good. Ooh,